Welcome, Walter, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Headless, this new album, Transitional Objects, and routines related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking, how are you doing today, and how is the band during the last couple of years? Because your previous album was released in 2021.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, first of all. And it's been a quite dense period for me because I started to play with David Ellefson 3 years ago, and we did a couple of tours, one after the other. And so Headless, after 2023, we're on a hiatus waiting for the good timing to record the new album maybe. And so super busy, but also super excited about Headless and about the other project as well.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So now talking about the composition from these transitional objects, when do you decide writing songs for this new album? It was during the transition for this, or did these for last 4 years, or perhaps did you rescue any composition for the previous album? Who knows? When did you decide
Okay.
to start writing songs for
Okay.
this?
Well, I'm not the kind of composer that writes a lot, honestly.
Mhm.
There are people that usually always compose riffs or ideas and put them in the closet, and then in a second moment try to
Mhm.
select the best material to build a song. It's not my case, actually. I always write when I'm about to explode, about to blow up, in a sense that maybe I had an idea for months or weeks, sometimes even years. And when this sound in my ears is mm, becoming unbearable because it's so consistent, it's so present, then I write a song to to liberate myself from this buzzing in my head. So I managed to start the writing process soon after the previous Headless tour in 2023, but nothing happened. I tried to force myself to write some music, but nothing happened. Then there was a brutal accident that struck one of my best friend, and this was the end of the summer of 23, and this was the trigger to start composing the new album. So the first songs, uh, were I think early autumn 2023. Yes.
Mm. Okay,
I don't
okay.
know
I
if I properly answer your question.
mean,
Maybe there was some more to say about it, but uh, please ask again if I'm missing something.
mm. Okay. So now, so how do you as you can see, well, your previous album Square One was released during the pandemic or when the last year of the pandemic. Now we are
Yeah.
outside of the pandemic, and how many things changed for you? The compos and the in the promotion things, the presentation, the lives. How many things changed during the release for Square One during the pandemic, and now these transitional objects outside of the pandemic?
Yeah, well, the first song that we wrote for the previous one, for Square One, was actually Rising Up. That it's a song about the pandemic. And it has a positive vibe, that song, but at the same time doesn't offer a great perspective on the future. So just to tell you that when writing Square One, we were not very obsessed by the idea of touring, of promoting the album, because the general feeling was that the end was near. So it was like a swan song for us, like the last effort before the end. But then the pandemic went down, and we actually managed to do a tour for Square One. And the promotion was very hard to do because everybody, soon after the pandemic, wanted to tour. So there was a real busy music biz at the time. Um, for this new album, I think the situation is very similar to what was happening before the pandemic. So we are in a comfort zone for promotion, for live performances. The booking agents are still working regularly. Of course, there's a further shift for what concern the the selling of the physical copies, because before the pandemic there were still a market, a consistent market, even if we were during the streaming era. But nowadays actually it's becoming less and less relevant if compared with the streaming of the music. So the main difference could be that the live scene is very alive and well, and the market for the physical copies is absolutely unuseful, honestly.
Hmm. Okay, okay. So now, so let's talk about more about the transitional objects, because when I try to see the cover art for this new album compared to the music that you play, something progressive, some progressive metal with influence from hard rock and other more things related. So how do you relate this concept of the cover art with the name and the music involved on this new album?
Okay. First of all, I might say that nowadays people look at the artwork through iPhones, so the real dimension of the image is a square like this. Um, this means that you cannot guarantee the details and Easter eggs that usually are hidden within an heavy metal cover. For example, uh, think about Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden. You can look at that cover for years and still discovering new details. There's no way to do it right now because only a little part of your audience is actually holding in their hands a vinyl. So the idea was to have a strong image that could be understood even from afar, even when the dimension of the cover is massively reduced. And we chose the transitional objects as a title because to me, the transitional objects that are related to children psychology are objects that in some way guarantee or at least reduce anxiety in the babies, in the children. So um, having a battered, bruised, and some in some way ruined transitional object, a teddy bear on the cover, would mean we're out of the comfort zone. This is an object that could guarantee security, guarantee a state of calm and instead of anxiety, but is ruined, is battered, is bruised, and so it was uh, an easy way to say we are out of the comfort zone. That's it.
Mm. Okay, okay. So now one thing that you said is now the people are just looking more this cover art the cover arts from the phones, not anymore longer for the physical stuff because they're related with the digital files more. Just me on the like, for example, people from the 80s or the 90s are still collecting music about this one. Just
Yeah.
but new people is for the digital platforms completely for this. So now, how is your opinion about the people are using, for example, in the new bands, the AI to create cover arts to just to get simplified everything?
Mhm. Well, I strongly believe that artificial intelligence is the right way to let the real talent, human talent, emerge.
Mhm,
I mean, after a while, when the teaching process of the artificial intelligence um, relates just to a limited amount of information, the results of the artificial intelligence are not so great as you can envision. But anyway, even when the bank of data is really relevant, for example, for images, it surely is, you can, uh, in some way, understand easily that it's a copy of a concept already existing. So, in the long period for music, but also for visual arts, I think there will be a real, let's say, hiatus period in which so many artworks, so detailed and well done artworks, will become boring, and just the real talent, the real emergencies around this flat landscape would be really appreciated.
mhm,
So I think it's a good way to remove from the scene. I mean, the music beats, but also the visual arts, the
mhm,
ones that are not really um, inspired, the artists that are not really inspired and relate to a mean like artificial intelligence. That's my opinion, at least.
hmm. Okay, okay. And talking about more the promotion about this new album,
Mhm.
transitional object. So, what kind of plans do you have for this one? Perhaps you will embark some videos, so perhaps some gigs. You will do some videos, or perhaps you're already working in a new album. Who knows? So, what kind of plans do you have in general for Headless and for this new album, Transitional Objects?
Mhm. Um, we gathered 2 weeks ago in Bergamo, close to Milano, Italy, to shoot the new video for the song Still My Thrill, and it will be out in 2 weeks from now. And we talked a lot about live performances and touring, and we all agreed that we can do it for sure. But as I said before, I in a busy situation because I have to take care of all the commitments related to the David Ellefson band. And at the same time, Martin Elmantel, the bass player, has commitments with Elegy. So the only period in which we can really promote the album and do it properly, well, for a long time, is the summer of 2026. So there will be a couple of videos more from now until April 2026, and then we will start touring again. We are concentrating ourselves especially on festivals because I noticed that with a good festival, even as an opener, you have such a great exposure. Last time Headless toured, we did something like 30 gigs in a row. And after 30 gigs, probably we collected the amount of people that we could gather with three great festivals. So touring is okay, but the festival should be our first choice, actually.
Okay. Okay. One thing that captured my attention from the Headless is the name of the band, Headless. Because I remember when I heard your music, well, in 2016, it was the first time with Melt in Ice Away. I remember
Uh-huh.
that album. So I remember that I tried to find more extreme metal stuff. And Headless is like a more common thing to relate it, for example, for a
Yeah,
black or death metal band, or at least
yeah,
a
sure.
thrash metal band. But when I hear the music, you are related more the progressive stuff. So, is there any special meaning when you try to, for example, you create the band in 1993 with this name Headless?
Yeah, yeah, it's an old name. And I know there's a band in Australia called Headless as well, and they do black metal. So, death metal, not black metal, death metal. So, I agree that it's a name that usually more related to extreme music. Um, the name was a reference to a video game from the 80s. There was this character in a video game called, if I remember well, it was called something like Shattered Steel, something like that. And there was this little character in the video game called Headless. And I always liked the name Headless because it's short, it's easy to remember, and it's composed by 8 letters, so it's symmetrical in the middle. So you can divide the logo in two exact parts and make it look great. And like this one, Megadeth, for 8 letters, perfectly symmetrical logo. So that was the reason why I kept the name even when I rebuilt the band. The Atlas of the 90s were not a real band. We're just an high school band playing heavy metal, playing progressive. But the start of the band, to me, um, is marked by the arrival of Goran Edman on the mic. So for me, Atlas, we have a relative short story starting from 2011. And yeah, I kept the name just because of that, just because of the reasons I just talk about.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. Now, other other topic that capture my attention sometimes with Headless because you are coming from a country that in the 70s has a lot of progressive
Yeah.
rock bands. And also Opeth is one, according to Michael Ackerfeld is according to him, it was is truly influenced by this progressive rock
Yeah,
from Italy.
the
So,
70s.
and for this on the 70s, and also there is a lot of bands playing now, a lot of progressive death metal stuff, progressive, hard rock progressive, a lot of things. So why always Italy bring this wave of the progressive scene into into the rock and metal industry since the 70s? Because that is a curious thing. Just England and Italy has like Italy has a great band since the 70s from the progressive rock.
Mhm. It's a good question. It's a nice question. It could be a starting point for a development, a really deep discourse. But I must say, in my view, it depends from the fact that we have a real a great history of not just musical talents, but um, musical learning programs. The conservatory in Italy is a huge thing. It's a university that really form the basis, the building blocks for the career of good musicians, especially in the classical music, but also nowadays for pop and jazz. So we have a strong knowledge of the theory.
Mhm.
And we are also very keen to experiment with music. If you listen to the avant-gardes of the previous century, I mean the 20th century, all the great goals of the research in music were made by Italian composers, Italian researchers. So probably this good knowledge of the uh, theory, it helps to play a genre like progressive that it's really based on the knowledge of harmony. And that's my opinion, actually.
Mm. Okay, okay, okay. So now other topic is talking about more the history of the band is that you created the band in 1993, but then you decide to split the first split up it was in 2000s. But then you decide to come back in 2011. So then you
Mhm.
release you release two albums. You release just one album in 1998. Then when you return, you release more albums, four albums in your now you have five albums in your career. So at the beginning, so why do you decide it first to release just one album in the 90s
Mhm.
after 5 years to create the band because it's not unusual in
Mhm.
Europe that.
Uh, yeah, as I said before, in the 90s, Headless were just a Nike school band. So
Mhm,
we were kids fucking around with heavy metal, trying to play the music of our idols.
mhm,
But the results were really, really, as you can say, um, well, let's say not great, at least. So I decided to stop the band as a first move to start a real career in music. To become a musician, I decided to study composition as well as guitar. And to do this, I couldn't go on with the band in a proper way with a commit a real commitment. So for 10 years, I basically studied day and night to become what I am now. And when I rebuilt the band, I was really convinced that I was ready to offer something interesting to the audience. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense to me. So that's the main reason. Actually, many journalists are asking me these days, why did you stop the band?
mhm,
You could achieve more if there was a um, continuous and long history for this group. But I reply, I had to stop the band because I couldn't play properly my guitar. I couldn't write properly a song, so I needed to study.
mm. Okay, okay, okay. Now, so and these topics, how do you compare and why do you decide to, for example, to return in 2011?
Yeah, it was not really a reunion because the band was completely different, except for me and the other guitar player. Because the singer was Goran Edman
Mhm,
in 2011, and the drummer was Scott Rockenfield from Queensryche. So the band was called Headless, but it really was another band. It was really another group of people. It was just my presence to justify the continuity of the name, actually. I'm the only guy that is part of all the Headless albums from beginning to end. So I don't see it as a reunion, but as a new band with the same name of the previous one.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. Now talking about more about, yes, in general for the music in or the metal industry, as you can see, the metal scene has well, has more good musicians, technical sounds, good releases. There's no bad releases for the, like 80s or 90s when you try to find, for example, five records, three records are amazing, but two records were not amazing. So, but now we
Yeah.
have five records, and all these five records sounds amazing. Great musicians, great sound, clean sounds. Now it's not like the night, not all
Mhm.
with the old days. And this kind of topic. So, what kind of opinion do you have for this clean sound, especially into the metal industry? Because the other styles not don't care about it.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends from the technology
Mhm.
because nowadays everybody has access to a good converter, a good sound card, a good computer, good monitors. They're available. They're absolutely cheap if compared from what happened during the 90s. For example, I remember I put all my money in the recordings of the recording of the first Headless EP in 1996, and because the whole band should move to Rome, where there was a good studio for heavy metal music, and we've been in the studio for a week. We paid a lot for all the all the accommodation of the band, uh, the studio, the engineers. It was a massacre. Actually, I wouldn't redo it again because I lost all my money all in once in a week to do it, and the result sucks. And actually, if you listen back right now to Bad P, the sound is as you can imagine very messy, very old school. Let's put it this way. Nowadays, everybody, even if it's the first release and the people around the band is not really professional, everybody has access to professional stuff. And this is the reason why so many records are still so clean, so polite. Let's put it this way. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that all the records that you hear on Spotify every Friday are good records, are well recorded products. But a good record, honestly, for me, is built around great songs. And it's not easy to find a record that not just is well played and well recorded, but it's also well written. To me, the point is the composition, because if the composition is weak, you can record it perfectly, you can have the best musicians around, but the song still sucks. So, uh, for me, probably it was a better scenario in the 80s because not everybody had access to the recording studios. And if you really wanted to express yourself and were available to do sacrifices to reach the studio and paid the right amount of money to have a proper result, you were committed enough to be um, part of the scene. Nowadays, you can do it without efforts and without paying a fortune. So it's more democratic, but at the same time, it's a messy scene, mostly done with products that are excellent from the technical perspective, but weak from the musical perspective.
Mm, okay, okay. Now, when this topic that when the, you can see this topic about the musical aspects and related for the
Sorry, I
tech.
have to I have to close my window.
Okay, okay.
Oh my! Can you believe it? It's raining right here.
Oh, okay, okay,
Raining
okay.
inside my my studio. All right.
Mhm.
Let me boost a little bit the volume because otherwise I can hear you
Don't worry,
enough.
don't worry. Okay, okay. Now, so let's talk about more about this technicality on the metal when the metal in general. So as you can see, there is like no just there is 1,000 great musicians in the world, great guitar
Yeah.
players, great drummers, great singers, great etc. There's no like the 80s or 90s, not anymore anything like that. So we have a lot
Hmm.
amazing players on YouTube channels. So, and these kind of things also it was because death metal since the mid of so since the 80s bring this technicality to the metal scene. Before other kind of bands, the death metal brings this kind of technicality. Now, the 90s it was a lot of experimentation with the death metal, and then the Dream Theater appeared in the world with the second album, so that more technicality into the progressive, all these kind of things. So now, what kind of opinion do you have for these new musicians that play so good? So everything is related now a good, great musicians, no bad musicians, everything is great.
Yeah. 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 I think this is a good thing to have all these wonderful musicians around the world, and the reason is that everybody has access to, for example, tools like YouTube, so you can learn directly from the masters and you can see the fingerings and you can see all the details that were hidden for my generation. Because when I tried to emulate Queensryche in my room when I was a teenager, I only had my tape and there was no chance to slow it down, no chance to separate tracks. So there was this kind of approximation in all the stages of the study that was certainly not a good start. And nowadays, if I have to, for example, imitate Zach Wild, I can reach the Zach Wild channel, slow down the track, and see exactly how is the finger of that part. So I have access to a lot of information,
Mhm.
a lot of details that were hidden in the past. I'm absolutely impressed by the quality of the performance nowadays, but I must also tell you that, except for the geniuses, of course, the typical guitar player, the typical bedroom guitar player that has a YouTube channel and show the skills to the world via YouTube, not always as a real spot in a band or in a musical context different from the room. I have, for example, many students. I teach both composition at the conservatory, but guitar in a private school. And many of my students are incredible when you watch them online. But when you put these people on a stage in front of people, something changed because there is no experience. Uh, when you see Zach Wild in front of a camera, he's a genius on the guitar, exactly as he's a genius on a stage with the guitar. If you look at many, many amazing musicians coming from the bedroom and you put them on stage, the results are not always
Mhm,
perfect, not always real professional,
mhm,
even if the technique is incredible.
mm. Hmm. Okay, okay. Well, Walter, we arrived at the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for this interview. It was a tremendous pleasure to talk with you. This new album's a great one. Congratulations on this new one, the amazing one.
Thank you so much.
And perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that expect someday a Latin tour here? Who knows? And obviously, Metallium followers.
Well, Latin America is really the mecca for European guys because I know that there's a scene for metal there that we uh, don't have anymore here in Europe. So everybody would love to be there to tour the South America. The only great problem is the amount of money needed
Mm,
to put the band on a plane and arrive there. But honestly, most of our fans on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram are from South America. So I'm totally thankful to you and to all the people from that area because you permit to survive to many European bands, and that's a great thing. Thank you so much for doing this.